you can. So it's recording right now. So just take a minute to type in your location and what your skill level is. Nice. Long-time beginner. Nothing wrong with that. Although I'm sure you want to get out of the beginner status. But as long as you're having fun. SoCal, Salt Lake City. Lance, glad you're loving it. Intermediate guitarist. Cool, John. Well, thanks for joining us. Jim, you're from Pennsylvania. Sweet. And Scott, San Jose, Wisconsin. Cool. Well, thank you guys for taking the time on this Saturday to join me for this. I hope this kind of sheds some light onto how to use the Listen and Learn course that I've been working on. The reason that I created the course is because I have a lot of students, or I did have a lot of students come to me and say that they only feel stuck looking at tab when they're at jam sessions. They feel stuck playing one single arrangement of the tab, yet they don't have time to sit down with the recording and just listen to it over and over and over again. And I wanted to figure out a way to kind of bridge the tab world with the learning by ear world. And so I kind of developed this beta course. This is definitely the first try of this Listen and Learn course, where I recorded video of myself so you can actually see me playing the banjo. There's MP3s of the audio, so you can actually put those into a slow downing application and slow them down if you need to. And then there's tablature, which has a lot of notes missing. So you have to figure out where those notes are on the fretboard. And I wanted to make it easy for people that haven't ever transcribed to access the material or feel like they can progress with the material. So I only X'd out, instead of just letting you figure out what the note is on whatever string and trying to figure it out, not knowing what the string is, I X'd it out on the specific string that the note lays. So I'm hoping that that's going to make the process easier for you if you're learning from the... No sound. Has there not been sound this whole time? Okay, it looks like there's sound for people. It might be a connection thing, John. Or there's... Your computer might be muted. So anyways, I hope that this process is enjoyable for you, but also challenges you and takes you out of the mindset of just learning from tab, just looking at a piece of tab and trying to mechanically put your fingers on the instrument and not really listen to the music, because that's the problem that people have, is they'll just physically play the notes on your instrument, but they won't listen to the actual sound of the music. And so our goal when we play music is to create beauty, to create sound, to create what we feel like, what feels good to us when we put our hands on our instrument. And it's not struggling through a tab piece that we're kind of physically trying to memorize. We're trying to memorize it through our body's filter, not through just our hands, if that makes sense. There's a lot of esoteric stuff we could get into, but I just want to get into the actual process of using this course. So we have the tab and we have the video, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you and show you kind of what I would do in this process. Gary, I'm actually recording this, so you'll have a copy of this. I'll send it out to the list after this. So I'm going to share my screen with you real quick. And I'm going to download the tab. So your tendency at the beginning might be to just look at the tab, you know, and try to read through the tab. But obviously you get a little stuck because the second note in the tab is, sorry, I want to make sure that you can actually see what I'm looking at. Desktop, here we go. So the second note of the tab is X'd out. So, you know, that gives you a problem. You know, you have to figure out what that note is. Where is that note on the fretboard? You know it's on the 4th string because the tab shows you that it's on the 4th string. So before we even jump into the tab, let's just listen to this video a couple times through. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so obviously the audio might not be that great when you're listening to it through my computer, but what you want to do is listen to that slow version several times. Do it once with your eyes open and once with your eyes closed so you can really focus on the sound of the banjo coming through rather than focusing on what you're looking at. That's going to help prepare you for when you start to look at the tab. So let's listen to it. Well, let's not listen to it again because I know the audio is probably not that great. Let's jump into the tab. So my process for this is obviously you're going to play the first note, which on my banjo, you know, that's pretty self-explanatory right there. So we got to figure out what that second note is. So what I'm going to do is go back to the video, X out of whatever that is, and 2 and 3. I'm going to pause it right after that second note. So bum, 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 and then I'll try to sing it back so I can hear those notes. And don't worry if you don't have a good voice. I don't have a great voice. It's not about the quality of your voice. It's about hearing those notes and being able to actually reproduce them with your voice. So listen to it one more time. The good thing about the video is you can actually physically see what I'm doing. So, you know, and obviously I'm not figuring this out for the first time. I was playing in the video. Let me see, there might be some questions here. John, if you're still here, which I don't know if you are, sorry. Doesn't look like he's still here. Sorry, John, we lost one. I'll send him the video afterwards. So we have that first note. And what you can do with the tab is if you have it printed out, you can fill in that X. You can fill it in with a 2 if you want to. But what I would recommend you doing is just moving on to the next thing. The second fret note is easy to remember. Your goal for all of this, as you get into what your goal is, your goal for all of this is to be able to play with the slow version of this song. And it's going pretty slow, so that in itself might be a challenge for you. So let's go on to this next measure. We see that we don't know the first note. So we have to figure out where that note is. Okay, So da da, that's what it sounds like to me. And you have to rewind it if you need to. And I always like to stop it right after the note that I'm playing, that I hear. Da. So it's a third string, open. And my hope with this is that you're going to hear that third string note, and then the next X that you see is going to be easier for you to find because you heard that third string note before. Does that make sense? So your ears are hopefully going to progress and get better as you do this course. And so that's why the songs are progressively a little bit more difficult as you go. I mean, if you haven't got the course yet, that's totally fine. I structure it so the so the tab is a little bit harder as you go on as well. So we have that first roll pattern. Now, what are these two X's right here? So I got a little lost there, and that's because there was just a bunch of forward roll going on. I'm going to play it one more time and look at the tab while I do this. Okay. Okay, so na do da do. Okay, so I'm hearing that boom. Then where's that next note? Da, boom. Keep singing it until you find it. And the singing part might be something to practice as well. Da, boom. Maybe we refer to the video one more time. Okay, it looks like I'm putting my finger on the second fret there. Okay, so let's look at this tab. Maybe I would fill in 0, 2 right there, but let's play it from the beginning, just those first pickup and that first measure. You guys want to play along with me on that? If you can. Is this making sense so far? I mean, it's a pretty logical process. It's just taking a little bit more time than you looking right at the tab. So let's play this. Let's play this together. You can look at your tab if you want, but the idea is you want to play this first measure as many times as you can to internalize it off the tab. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Cool. That felt good. Let's play it one more time, then play it with the recording. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So obviously I need to practice that a little bit more, but I want to play it with the recording to see if I actually have the notes right. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that measure feels good. And it's easy to, like, I find it easy to just look at the tab and kind of zone out into this I don't know, tab-based, learning method. But I want to force myself, or I encourage you to force yourself to close your eyes and not look at the tab. Like, force yourself really to look away from the tab, or just listen to the music, because when the tab in front of you, it's just like reading a sign. You can't help but read it. You can't help but see what the words are, see how the letters are arranged, and then read it. With the tab there, it's the same thing once you get to a certain point where you're actually just reading the tab and you're not listening. So you want to, the whole point of this is to improve your ears and get you better at learning by ear. So take the time to focus on one measure of the song. Boom, 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 da, dum. And just work on playing it without the tab. And once you have that measure down and you're like, all right, I feel really good about that measure, move on to the next one. And it might take you 10 minutes at the beginning, but the more that you do it, the better you're going to get at this. It's just like anything. I'm going to read some of these comments. Philip, makes sense. Good. Jim, yeah, no problem. There is some more advanced stuff like Salt Creek and Salty Dog in the course, and I'm definitely going to do more of these listen and learn courses, because I think it's a good way to kind of get off the tab and combine these two things. Gary, I can pick out the melody fairly well. It's the rolling afterward I have trouble with. All good. So Gary, what you want to do is just what I just said. Take that one measure, that one simple like roll pattern measure, and repeat it over and over again with the recording and with the metronome if you can do that. The metronome thing, that's another thing I'm a really big fan of, is playing with the metronome as a part of your daily practice routine. So picking up the melody is a really great first step, and I've done videos on that, but then a lot of people have problem putting the roll patterns around it. But I'm hoping that this will give you some sort of structure to do that. Alan, I'm so glad. Charlie, yes, exactly. The tab is going to help you find which fingers to use. Are there any questions up to this point? What's a metronome? Okay, so let's move on. So I feel good about that measure. I'm going to share my screen again. I feel really good about that measure. Okay, so let's just play it one more time, because we see we have two notes at the beginning of the next measure that we need to figure out. So maybe you'll figure them out without even listening to the recording. And if you do know the melody of this song, you might hear a note in your head, which is really awesome. Da, boom, boom. That's the note I'm hearing. So let's compare that with the recording. Yeah. Da, boom, boom. And then a high G. I can't sing that high. So, okay, we have tab now. And then we can pretty much assume that the fifth string is going to be an open string. I just put that in there for a little test, a little trick question. And then we have two more notes. So let's look at that one more time. It's hard to do this. Maybe it's better to print this stuff out. Okay. Boom, boom. Okay, so it sounds like open strings. Okay, that sounds right to me. So you see how like kind of quickly I'm doing this, but I should note that even the process of you listening to the video and looking at the tab and connecting the dots of where that sound, what that sound looks like on the tab, is a really great thing to do. So even that process of you going back and forth between the video and the tab is a really great thing. And I'm sure by this point you can see that the process is a little bit more complicated than just looking at the tab, but I'm hoping that you also see the value of why these notes are missing and why you should be learning with some notes or with the audio and listening to the audio very intently. Okay, so we have this one note at the end right here that we haven't figured out yet. But what I want to do before I even get to that note is I want to play through it, because that sounds like a fun thing to do. So let's do that together. I'm going to count it off, and then let's see if we can play this thing together. And if you can't, no worries. This is just a kind of a quick start for this. song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, now we have this one note. I don't know what it's going to be. Okay, I see with my left hand where that note is. So we figure that note out. Either write it in or just immediately play the measure. And this is the measure that, or this is a type of measure that I would just loop. So and then start to close your eyes. Don't look at the tab. And obviously, I'm making it sound really, really good. Like it's not rough for me because I actually tabbed all this out and I wrote it, and I didn't write the song, but I wrote the tab and I wrote the arrangement. So it's going to sound better when I play it than when you are learning it because I already know it. So you just got to be patient with yourself when you're learning this. And you might notice that I'm playing this pretty slow, slower than you might be able to play or want to play. But actually playing slow is a really great thing because it trains all of your little muscles to know exactly what they need to be doing for every single note. And it trains you to be able to play fast. I'm gonna look at yeah, Gary, thanks. I was just looking at the second measure and I was looping the second measure. So that's all we needed to look at. But now that we know the second measure, we can actually look at the entire line, the entire first line. So let's play this together. And if you're watching the replay, then you can play it with us. Or if you're here at the class and you're watching the replay, then just pause it and practice and then go back to it. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay. So that's the first line. Let's do it one more time, a little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay. So I'm going to let you continue through this Saturday and learn the rest of Will the Circle Be Unbroken. We don't have time to really jump into the rest of the song, but I think this gives you a good starting point for doing this. Before I jump off and jump on the next class I'm doing, are there any questions? And if you have an involved question, I'm happy to unmute you. Just say me in the chat box. Okay, well, Alex, I'm so glad. I'm glad that everybody was able to make this. And if you want the rest of the course, it's available on my website. I've sent you the links a couple times. It's a bunch of the same stuff. So It starts out pretty easy with Cripple Creek and Will the Circle Be Unbroken and Banjo Hollow and the Banjo and the Hollow, and it gets progressively more difficult. And there's going to be rhythm tracks added this week. I just have to set my recording stuff up and get a guitar. But I'm glad that you guys like it, and I would definitely, if you're a more advanced player or intermediate player, I'm going to put some more melodic style stuff and single string style stuff in this format as well. So thanks, you guys, for watching. Alex, you have a question. How long for each song as far as instruction time? Well, there's not instruction time. It's actually like a self-study course. So each video is going to be set up exactly like this. Will the Circle Be Unbroken? And if you guys like this setup, like this live setup, then I'm happy to do more of these. But I think the point of this is so that you can really be empowered to learn by ear on your own using these courses. So each video is 2 minutes long, and then you have the MP3s and you have guitar rhythm tracks and the tablature. And of course, if you have any questions, you can email me or you can just let me know via my email, which I'm sure you have at this point. But thanks again for being here. I'm going to jump on or grab a cup of coffee before the next class, chromatic banjo style. So I'm going to have to rethink what I'm doing here this morning. It's just a different type of thinking when it gets to that kind of stuff. But anyways, Joey, okay, this one more question before I hop off. What if you're at a jam and you're not familiar with the song being played? Joey, email me. I've got a couple videos that should help you with picking up the melodies by ear. If you don't know a song, establishing the key first and then figuring out what those key notes are. There's a couple free YouTube videos, and obviously on the member site, there's a bunch more as well for beginners. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thanks again, everybody. And have a great Saturday.